I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will you join me in prayer, please? Supreme Architect of the universe, we invoke thy blessing at this time. May this meeting thus begun in order, conducted in peace, and closed in harmony. Amen?
Amen.
All righty. I'd like to welcome everyone to our public business meeting, Thursday, April 25th, 2013. Gentlemen, are there any additions or deletions to our agenda?
No, sir.
Okay. I'd like to entertain a motion for the approval of our minutes dated April 18th, 2013.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
It has been moved by Commissioner Brody, seconded by Commissioner Valentine. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Gentlemen, I have nothing to report in lieu of the time. However, we'll run right into our proclamation. This happens to be item number 1, which is Child Abuse Neglect Prevention Month. And I understand Ms. Carol Sangiovanni is here. Messed it up, Mrs. Doubtfire, I'm sorry.
I'm not explaining to this group what you mean by that.
Hello!
You've missed your calling.
I really wanted to come in through that door
And say it.
with shaving cream all over my face and try to be Mrs. Doubtfire, but
Well, then we'll start calling.
Mr. Rudd wouldn't allow me. He said something about legal. I don't know.
I doubt that.
Anyhow, Carol, would you like to say a couple words, and then we'd like to give you this proclamation, please.
I just want to, real quickly, on behalf of the Child Abuse Task Force, to thank each of you commissioners for your continued support of our agency, and also for the support that you give to the families and the children in this area. We appreciate so much. John was going to give a few remarks.
Oh, I'm sorry. John, please.
I'll give you remarks. Stand up there. All I would like to do is thank the commissioners, thank the citizens of Allegany County. You know, I've been at the Department of Social Services for 37 years. Most of that time I spent working with children. And I think it's the most valuable resource we have in this county.
Amen.
Is our kids. So it's good to take a little time once in a while to recognize the fact that not all kids have it as good as they should. It's good to take a little time to reflect on the fact that, you know, let's do a little bit more to make it better for them. So we always appreciate anything the citizens of Allegany County, the commissioners, anyone who likes to help kids. We appreciate the help.
Wonderful. Thank you. Gentlemen, can you assist me in giving this proclamation, please?
Thank you very much.
I'm watching.
Gee, I think a pie in the face is due.
Okay, so I have to tell you the story.
Yes, please do.
Okay. So Carol goes into the schools and does the program
Personal body safety.
personal body safety. And one of the children came to,
A little kindergarten child. We were waiting for I'll tell the story. We were waiting for the other children to join us, and they were sitting on the floor, and I always sit low on the chair to talk to them. And this little girl proceeds to tell me that, you know, she had spent the weekend with her grandmother, and they watched some, I said, well, what did you do? And she was telling me, and then she said they watched a movie. And it was Mrs. Doubtfire, if you remember that, with Robin Williams. And I'm like, oh yeah, I know that movie. And she goes, you know, you look like Mrs. Doubtfire. And I'm like, oh. And then I said to the teacher, does she know he's a guy? So this is, unfortunately, I made that remark at my board meeting. Who serves on my board is Commissioner McKay. So now he does imitations on Mrs. Doubtfire.
and how, oh,
They are
I mean,
very
I
good.
did leave it on the voicemail.
Yes, he did. I laughed. Oh my gosh, it was funny.
Hey, but in all seriousness, what you do is very important to the children
Thank
of
you, I appreciate
Allegany County, and whatever we can do, the three of us together collectively or individually You do know that we're here for you.
Yes, and I do appreciate your support. So thank you very much.
It would be my pleasure to give you this proclamation, if I may, please. Allegheny County, Maryland proclamation. Whereas child abuse and neglect is a complex problem resulting from an array of social, psychological, and environmental factors and occurs across all social economic groups. And whereas the effects of child abuse and neglect are far-reaching and potentially life-threatening and can result in permanent physical and mental damage as well as death. And whereas abused children are less likely to achieve their full potential and more likely to suffer from low self-esteem. And whereas abused children can develop personality problems that can lead them to repeat the vicious cycle of violence with their own children, and this violence can continue generation after generation. Whereas prevention, detection, and treatment efforts are important. Now, therefore, we as the County Commissioners are committed to protecting the children of Allegheny County from the destructive efforts of child abuse and neglect, and do hereby proclaim April 2013 Child Abuse and Neglect Prevention Month in Allegheny County, and urge all citizens to protect our children by supporting the efforts of the Allegheny County Department of Social Services, Child Protective Services, and Family Services units, the Allegheny County Task Force on Child Abuse and Neglect, and the law enforcement agencies. Signed by all 3 county commissioners. And thank you
Thank
for
you.
trying to stop and break this vicious cycle.
Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
Appreciate it. I think he already took it.
Did he?
Oh,
It was all quick.
Mike's always ready for another
You
picture.
guys want to stand up there for a minute? Hold on.
You've never seen his pictures.
Hold that pose, his camera's ringing.
Right here, right. This way, everyone.
Oh, that's funny.
introduce One Shot Charlie.
Better than me.
Don't
Got
count on
it.
it.
Thank you, Carol.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Gentlemen, if we can just break one in the vicious cycle of generational curses, it makes it worth it. And this is very important, so thank you very much for doing so, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, in our action agenda today, we have the Department of Economic and Community Development. This is the Barton Farm Master Development Proposal Award. Mr. Barclay, our Economic Development Representative.
Yes. Good evening, Commissioners.
Evening, sir.
As you will recall, at a public work session held on December 13th, county staff presented the reasoning and a draft request for proposals to seek planning assistance for a master plan at the Cumberland Chase development site. With the blessing of the Commissioners, an RFP was issued on February 6, 2013, with a closing date extended to March 19th of 2013. A total of 9 proposals were received. Out of the 9 proposals, the RFP Selection Committee has selected the proposal of Site Resources, Inc. from Phoenix, Maryland. For those of you that do not know, Phoenix, Maryland is an affluent community in Baltimore County. It's about 5 miles north of the Beltway. A member of the Site Resources team could not be available for tonight's meeting. However, Managing Principal Michael Fisher wanted to convey that his team is excited for this opportunity to work with Allegheny County on this important matter. Site Resources is teaming up with local engineering firm Bennett Brewer and Associates from Frostburg, Maryland, who has extensive knowledge of the site because they acted as an engineering consultant for the original developers to the site. And also Vantage Point Development Advisors. They are from Annapolis, Maryland, who's considered one of the leading nationwide firms specializing in economic analysis, transportation, and real estate development. Although Site Resources is a Baltimore-based firm, they are not strangers to projects in Allegheny County. In fact, Site Resources and Bennett Brewer Associates have teamed up on several projects in Allegheny County in the past, notably Cumberland Meadows Senior Housing Project, which is the senior housing out by Allegheny College of Maryland, the Klotz Mill Lofts, on Gay Street in Cumberland. And also, they did design work for the Center for Communications and Information Technology, the new building at Frostburg State University. And also, they did some engineering work for the Lane Center expansion, also at Frostburg State University. So they do have, even though they're a downstate firm, they do have some ties to the local community. I have here that the RFP selection committee has selected Site Resources proposal due to the cost, having a solid project approach, and the design team would present both local advantages and an outside perspective on the economics of the property. So with all that said, the RFP selection committee would recommend that the Board of Commissioners award a contract to Site Resources, Inc. in the amount of $63,100 and authorize the issuance of a notice to proceed for the chosen firm to perform work described in their proposal submitted March 19th for the Barton Farm Master Development Plan.
Commissioners, any questions? Nope. I'd like to entertain a motion to authorize the County Commissioners to award contract to Site Resources Incorporated in the amount of $63,100.
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
It has been moved by Commissioner Valentine, seconded by Commissioner Brody. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeffrey.
A step in the right direction.
Get that thing rolling.
Okay, Commissioners, item number 3. Again, this is from the Department of Economic and Community Development, Penmar Recycling, LLC, lease addendum number 1. Mr. Diaz, good to see you, sir.
Good evening, gentlemen. How is everyone?
Wonderful,
Good.
thank
Good.
you.
I'd be remiss if I didn't, before I started on my issue, to commend Jeff as part of my staff for the fine job he did issuing the RFP and administering that to this point. So it's an important project for the county, and we look forward to seeing that to fruition. But moving on to item number 3, Penmar Recycling in October of 2011 signed a lease for 73,000 plus square feet in buildings 24 and 25 of the Riverside Industrial Park. Since that time, they have succeeded in expanding their operation, expanding their recycling operation, and have come to the point where they need more space to branch into other areas of business now. And the addendum you have in front of you addresses that tonight. They're looking to lease another 43,000 plus square feet of building 26. And just to bring the commissioners up to speed on that, you know, it was 2 years ago we had 330,000 plus square feet sitting vacant back there, and now we're down to about 140,000 sitting vacant, thanks in no small part to Mr. Miller, but also to Merkle Response Services. But we're asking for your blessing on this lease addendum tonight. But before we do that, if you would just indulge me to ask Steve to come up and just give you a brief overview of where he's been and where he's planning to go over the next year or so with his operation.
That would be wonderful.
Absolutely.
Well, here I stand before you good people again. As you said, in 2011, October, we took on that almost, well, it's almost 76,000 square feet. We moved from the 10,000 square foot building across the street, and wow, we've just grown ever since. Our employment has doubled. The amount of tonnages and materials and the opportunities have just been endless, you know, with having that much space. With the help of economic development, we've had different opportunities come to the door. You know, we have some opportunities to do some warehousing, you know, some cross-docking for trucking companies and stuff like that, which has left us venture on out into other things just beside recycling. And it's our intention to probably expand into this other area to not only warehouse some of our stuff, but possibly do some for outside people. Seems like that's something coming up, you know, and it's a whole new area for us, but, you know, we want to expand it. You know, as far as recycling, to recap what we've done, this county's been phenomenal. Terry Bennett's been great, I mean, and representing you folks. We've changed some things around. I think it's helped the county a little bit in the way they handle it and the expenses that it took to do it before. And, you know, so that's going good. And Matt and Tim and everyone in economic development, it's just, what do you need? You know, if it makes sense, we'll sit down and listen to us. And the same as you folks. And again, thanks for everything. And we'll try to make you proud and put some more people in there to work.
Amen. You already have made us proud, Steve, and
Thank you.
I appreciate that, sir.
Thank you very much.
Like I told you earlier, you're one of my favorite people to see here because you keep investing in the future of Allegheny County, and we most certainly appreciate it, sir. So-
Well, we appreciate the opportunity, believe me. And thank you all.
Yes,
We
sir.
hope to see you here next year.
Yeah.
We got another few thousand feet back there.
Well, can't overload our britches, as they say.
I don't know about that. I do like to eat. No.
I knew that was coming.
Hey, I gotta hurry up. It might be time to eat. Anything else, Mr. Dias?
No, I've got the next item, that's why.
Okay, all right, that's fine. Commissioners like to
I'll make a motion. How's that?
That's perfect. Is there a second?
Second?
It's been moved by Commissioner Brody, seconded by Commissioner Valentine to authorize the county commissioners to approve the addendum number 1 of the lease purchase agreement with Penmar Recycling. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. And thank you for the help. Commissioners, item number 4 is Resolution 13-7. This is a community development block grant from Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development. Application for bid advertisement on the second phase of the Rawlings Water Project.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you again, Commissioners. Just briefly, David Nedved from my staff held a public hearing last week at the Commissioners' public meeting. That public hearing led us to this point where we actually need a resolution now to make application to the Department of Housing and Community Development to apply for $800,000 for funds for the Rawlings Phase 2 water project, and then eventually move on to the advertisement of bids for that project. So once again, I ask for your favorable approval.
Gentlemen, I'd like to entertain a motion to authorize the county commissioners to sign any and all documents relating to the community development block grant funds known as Rawlings Water Phase 2 project in the amount of $800,000, and also to authorize the Department of Public Works to advertise the project for the bid when designed is complete. Is there a motion?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Valentine, seconded by Commissioner Brody. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 5, gentlemen, is the Allegheny Trail Alliance Memorandum of Understanding.
Very good.
Mr. Atkinson. I met with you on this already, but could you share some light with my fellow commissioners?
I will
sir?
do that. Thank you all for the time. I will be brief. I know you have a very busy agenda. What this is it's actually a continuation of an MOU that was signed in 2003. It's between yourselves, Somerset County, Pennsylvania, several other trail organizations, and the Potomac Heritage National Scenic Trail, which is a federal trail that's purpose is really to link the Potomac River, the Chesapeake Bay, to the Ohio River Basin. So it's a combination of different trails throughout Maryland and Pennsylvania and other areas. Parts of it are built, parts of it are not. The Great Allegany Passage in Maryland is part of this Potomac Heritage National Scenic Trail, this federally designated trail. The MOU is just simply stating that the groups will work together and cooperate on continuing to build that trail, to finish that trail, and to work together to promote it, market it, and bring people to the area to do that. So at this time, we're just requesting that you all, again, enter into that MOU with the Potomac Heritage National Scenic Trail so that we can continue the work that we do with them on promotion, advertising, marketing, and again, they continue to help us, and we help them in continuing to finish the trail to the Chesapeake. I also did hand out to you all that put that on your calendar, the June 15th. The Great Allegany Passage will be finished and complete into downtown Pittsburgh. We are having a huge celebration that day, so the gap will be done from Pittsburgh into Cumberland. So that's a great big day that's going to be a good celebration. You all will be getting invitations, but I wanted to at least get that on your calendar for that, and I'll gladly answer any questions about this MOU that you have.
Commissioners, any questions?
Are you going to ride a bike to Pittsburgh?
No. But my son will ride. He's actually gone from here to Pittsburgh once. He's gone from here to D.C. twice. And then he went somewhere halfway to come back here. So
And we are having a celebration ride that he may want to look at. It's on that paper that he may want to look on joining that because you get a commemorative jersey for riding, and you'll be with part of the group that gets to ride in to kind of, open up the trail section that day. So he may be interested in that.
well, in lieu of budget, I'll get him. He's about a medium. If I get on there, the jersey will be a 4X, and that'll go over budget, and you won't be able to do that. So
He
just
did replace his bike 3 or 4 times before he got there.
Gee, kind of hard on you. I was just thinking it was probably a Five Guys close, but
really? What's that? Now. Okay, gentlemen, I'd like to entertain a motion to accept this MOU with the Allegheny Trail Alliance. Is there a motion?
so moved.
Is there a second?
Second?
It has been moved by Commissioner Brody, seconded by Commissioner Valentine. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill, and thank you very much for all you do. And we should note that the Paw Paw Tunnel is open?
Yes,
Is open.
It is open.
So we don't have to go around it.
Funding from the ATA, from the Allegheny Trail Alliance, was able to bring money to the Casino Canal Park, and just because they couldn't have the funding for the feasibility study to find out what needed to be done.
All right.
So we were able to provide $5,000 to them for that study, and then they were able to get in and clean it up. So
Okay.
it is back in.
For those who don't know, there was a rock slide, and the Paw Paw Tunnel was closed for people going through. Bill Valentine said he'd get into the water and scuba dive over there,
You
but,
could go to the top of it, that was a real nice
Well,
ride.
he was there originally when they was building it. see.
well, he would know. That's correct. That's correct.
He provided the plumbing that we needed. Thank you.
Still works.
Okay, item number 6, Resolution 13-8. This is a $250,000 Maryland Department of Environment, Maryland Water Quality Financing Administration loan. Mr. Bennett.
Good evening, Commissioners.
Evening, sir.
What you have in front of you tonight is a resolution seeking authorization to close on a loan with MDE for the Bedford Road Sanitary Sewer Shades Lane Sewer Rehab Project. It was a $250,000 loan through MDE. It's for improvements, obviously, in the Shades Lane sewer. We should be able to close the loan within 2 weeks. It's a 0.9% loan with a 20-year term that will be repaid with ad valorem from the residents that's already existing there. Work's basically done. We're essentially, at this point, we've fronted the money, so we'll just simply be getting reimbursed, hopefully within the next 2 weeks. So this one's quick, hopefully easy, so we're just seeking your approval.
Okay. Gentlemen, would like to entertain a motion to accept Resolution 13-8.
So move.
Is there a second?
Second?
It has been moved by Commissioner Valentine, seconded by Commissioner Brody. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Jason, while you're standing there, you might as well jump into item number 7, which is our preliminary budget presentation.
This one might be a little longer, unfortunately,
Okay.
but I'll try to keep it brief in interest of time. So tonight, as you said, is our preliminary budget hearing.
Got a couple minutes yet.
Okay.
But I have 5 minutes. I can do it.
Okay, buddy.
I can get some of it done at least.
Okay.
But we've certainly talked about all the things we're going to talk about tonight. This is simply our first chance in the public forum to talk about them. So I'll jump right into it. The first slide you have in front of you there, and by the way, I should mention, you guys certainly have a book, some of the public. There's a handful of books here for review. This whole document will be on the website right after the meeting tonight, so it's readily available. Lots more detail in the document. I'll buzz through this quickly. The first thing you have here is the main kind of focus of what we talked about over the last few weeks as we've had budget hearings and budget workshops. So I'm going to buzz through some of the bigger items, some of the bigger changes, and also some of the things that you asked us to come up with that we've done. So right now we have an $82,667,432 budget that is balanced. It's about $1.2 million higher than last year, or 1.5%. First thing, as far as highlights on the revenue side, property taxes are up $308,000. That's almost entirely due to the $295,000 we're going to get from the pilot agreement from Rocky Gap. Other than that, assessments were actually down 1.6%, so we were virtually flat on our property taxes. So this was a little bit of a saving grace for us. Right below that is income taxes, and you can see they're up $714,000. They've been our shining star through all of these bad times we've had. Income taxes have stayed intact and actually grown a little bit. So this year it looks like we feel safe in trending it up 3%. So that's $714,000. Recordation taxes, same thing. They've actually held their own recently. So we're going to move them up $75,000. That's a nice bump at this time. The disparity grant didn't change, but I thought it was worth putting up here because I wanted to point out that thankfully we still have intact the $1.6 million supplemental teachers pension grant. That was enacted last year with the pension shift, and it's not guaranteed every year. So, we were hopeful that it would get through and stay intact. It did this year. We still have 2 more years to keep our fingers crossed. We're kind of preparing for that with fund balance. We're setting funds aside in case it falls through on us in the next 2 years, but for this year, we made it through. And I'll touch on here soon, it's not enough to cover the entire cost of the shift, but at least we had a small victory with keeping it. Last thing in revenue is you'll see program open space is up about $140,000, and you'll see on the bottom side, the expenditure obviously is up that much as well. That's a program from the state of Maryland that allows communities to do different things with the money that they see fit, and we help facilitate that. So those are the big changes in revenue. All the other things are honestly small changes. This is the big stuff, and thankfully it's good stuff this year. Sliding down into the expenditures and the highlights, just some of the big things that have changed. The state assessment office, as we all know, a few years back, the state of Maryland shifted 90% of the cost for the local state assessment office to us. That was $672,000 at the time. Thankfully, by law, our share this year is down to 50%, so that's a $300,000 savings. We're still spending $300,000, but at least we have a savings from last year. Program open space, I just mentioned, $140,000 increase. I put in here the roads department is up $377,000, simply to point out that this year we were finally able to get enough money within the budget to get 2 new dumps that we desperately need. We've fallen behind on our program of replacing our roads vehicles, so we think we're finally taking a step in the right direction to get two dumps. They're obviously not cheap, but we're happy we got them in the budget. Next thing, the finance department, we're down $130,000 and change. We're down about 4 positions since 10. One of them, last week, Jay retired, so there won't be a replacement there as far as bodies. Debt service transfer, we've certainly talked a lot about over the last probably 6 months. It's down $778,000 this year, and that's because of the good luck we had with refinancing our debt. So those savings are, have been rolled right into the budget. We're going to be able to do good things with them. In fact, the next line item is some of those things we're doing. We're increasing our PAYGO transfer by $655,000 this year. The lion's share of the savings, we're repurposing our savings from refinancing the debt. And we're going to put it towards the sheriff's building largely. We're also going to put it towards keeping Allegany intact, doing some repairs and some upgrades to our backbone. And then we're also going to put it towards some much needed paving projects. And I think we'll have some more discussion on paving in our roads in a couple weeks as we do the CIP, but this is a chance to do maybe a little bit of catch up here too. So good one-time uses of the money, I think. The next one, the contingency account, is up $133,000, and actually it's up that much because of $190,000 that we're adding as contingency for mental health and security in our schools as we await recommendation from the committee. So we've got money in place. We're just kind of waiting at this point. Finally, as you talked about, there's a 3% COLA in place for county employees, the first time in 4 years. The way the numbers work out, it's $442,000. So we've got that in place in the budget. Slipping down to the outside agencies, funding for the Board of Ed is up $378,000 thanks to the teacher's pension shift. That was the extra burden that was shifted this year. We went from 1.4 to 1.8 essentially on our share of the pension. So there it is, built right in increase. Allegany College is up $130,000, and that's at your recommendation to help them on their tuition increase, shave it from 3% to 2%, so that money's in place. The library, sort of the same thing, $35,000 is there. They requested this during their budget hearing to kind of keep their staffing, was the biggest part of why they wanted to do it. So that money's also in place. And then HRDC's on there at $30,000. This wasn't really any extra cost to the county. We had $30,000 remaining in housing funds. We shifted housing to HRDC a few years back. We simply gave HRDC this money, or will give HRDC this money. So they'll get it now. It'll be at their discretion as they see fit, rather than sit here at the county. So those are kind of the biggest highlights. This next one's pretty easy. Just wanted to point out, here are some of our big property tax or tax rates. There's no increase in rates. In fact, there's a 1/10 of a penny reduction in the real property rate. So you can see income tax is untouched at 3.05, real properties at 0.980, and we had a constant yield hearing on that last month. So I think we're good to go there. Recordation stays at 350. And the homestead tax credit is still sitting at 7%. So no change there. Here's a grand total summary of all of our funds at this point. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time here. You know, we spend most of our time looking at the general fund. But you can see all of our other funds listed here. Excluded from what you see today are our capital project funds, as we have our CIP presentation in 2 weeks, so that's not in there yet. We also don't have water and sewer in there yet, as we're still working on that. We'll be coming with a recommendation, I think, within a month on that. And Alcanet's not in there yet, as we got a couple little tweaks to make. But you can see all in all, it's $101 million at this point. It's up slightly from last year. Last year at this time, we were at about $98 million. So up a little bit, some of it the general fund, obviously. The RBF's up a little bit as they continue to do quite well, so we roll their fund balance and allow them to use it if they need it. So that's a snapshot. Next slide here is just looking at some of the revenues, and this is a little more detailed than we talked about before, and I've already kind of hit the high points here. Property taxes are up, local income taxes are up. You can see pretty well everything else is relatively flat. A couple have gone down a little bit, a few others are up. All in all, you know, compared to where we've been the past couple of years, I'm pretty happy to see this increase, a 1.6% increase we'll take. This next slide here is just a pie chart, breaks out the different types of revenue that we have. As you can see, local property tax makes up very nearly 50% of our revenue. And just as a comparison, last year it was actually 50.2%. So the mix is changing a little bit on us. We've had better growth in our income tax. It's up to 29, almost 0.7. Last year it was 29.3. Really the only shift in these kind of revenues that we've seen. Everything else is pretty stagnant at this point. Here's another way to look at our general fund expenditures. This is by category, by type of service that's provided. So you can see general government, public safety, public works. I'll just touch on a couple things. You can see top line, general government's down $200,000. You know, we're trying, that's essentially your admin function, if you would. And we've been working hard at decreasing that. So it's down $200,000. Kind of in line with what you were hoping for as far as our pillars of government, public safety, and public works, and education. All three are up by 500,000, 300,000, and almost 500,000 for education. So all of those categories are up. That's at your request, and in part from the teacher's pension shift as well. And down in miscellaneous is up $230,000. That's almost entirely due to establishing the contingency for school security. Then if you look on farther down, we've already talked about the fact that we've increased our PAYGO funds by $655,000. So a big increase there, but it's a good one-time use of the funds. And debt service is down $770. So it's just a little bit of a different way to look at everything. And here's a pie chart on the expenditures. Just a couple of things I've kind of already pointed out. In general government.
Jason?
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Sure.
So, Commissioner Brody has to get to an airport meeting at 6 o'clock, so
It's
pardon
not the
us.
first time someone's walked out on a budget meeting.
Well,
It's understandable. Thank you.
yes, sir, thank you. Give me a call. I need to talk to you about Fort Hill.
Very good.
Thank you very much. It's all yours, sir.
Thank
you.
No problem. This is simply a pie chart, the same as the revenue pie chart. Shows our breakout of expenditures. Education's virtually unchanged from last year. Public safety is up. Public works is up slightly. General government down slightly. So more the same, just a different way to look at it. This chart, I've carried forward from what Jerry used to do. I think it demonstrates kind of where our money goes. And we point out here that appropriations actually make up 55% of our budget. You know, a lot of people, their first thought when they think county government is, oh, it's salaries. It's got to be salaries and personnel. Well, in this county, in most counties' case, it's actually appropriations. So it's 55%, and amongst that, we then break out on the right side all of the different outside agencies we fund. And I'm just going to point out the Board of Ed and AC combined make up about 85% of the appropriation. So obviously it's an awful big chunk of what we appropriate. On the left side, salaries and fringe makes up $23 million or 28%. That's about the same as last year. And everything else is about the same as last year, other than debt service being down. So it's just a nice way to look at things a little bit differently. This slide we've also done for quite some time. Just demonstrates all the services that county government provides that the municipalities don't. And certainly not to pick on the municipalities, but a lot of people will question, hey, why am I paying tax to a municipality and county government? Well, this is why, because 70% of what we do actually goes to services that the municipalities don't supply. Biggest part of that, as we've talked, is the Board of Ed, Allegany College. The detention center is actually on the list there. You know, we provide the detention center for the county. That's almost $7 million cost. We also provide a couple down there, 911 to the county. That's to the tune of $2 million, and we fund the health department at $1.3 million. And you can see there's a list, which I won't detail all of them, but it's 36 services, makes up 71% of the budget. So, right before we start, these are the services we're funding that no one else is. We recently added this to the budget presentation, and we do an ad on this every year as required by law. This is sort of a breakout of how we use our hotel motel taxes. We're striving to get it to the point that our hotel motel taxes fully fund any kind of tourism type activity, and we don't have general fund monies involved. At this point, we haven't quite made it, but we're an inch closer every year. So we've certainly made good strides in the last few years. I won't detail too much of this, but you can see we're able to use our hotel motel tax, which is up about 2.5%. from last year. It's actually trending positive. You can see all the things we're able to fund with this, including continuing to pay debt service on Rocky Gap. We just refinanced that debt, 4 years to go on that debt, and that's our plug, for lack of a better word, in this. We don't collect enough money from Hotel Motel to fully pay that debt service, but we're getting closer. So everything else there, we try to make it fit.
Explain that has nothing to do with the new people that own it.
It has zero to do. It's a legacy cost, from the construction
Right.
of Rocky Gap back in the 90s. It's a legacy cost. It was the county share back then. So,
It's a different fingerprint.
yeah, certainly not the new owners. This next one, this is our debt service transfer, and we put this in here every year to show where our money is going to from debt service. So these are essentially the breakout of the projects that we've incurred debt for. We're going to spend a lot more time on this as we do the CIP in a couple weeks, but it's worth pointing out for now just where some of this goes. The Board of Education gets about 30% of our debt service, as you would well expect. For the biggest share of that right now would be Mountain Ridge High School, and the coming future Allegany High School is going to be a part of that as well. Public safety certainly gets a big chunk. There's all kinds of things you have to keep up with public safety, so they get a big chunk. Allegany College has 10% of the pie. Economic development's got 12%. Like I say, long story short, debt service transfer is down $700,000. Our decisions not to borrow over the last few years and watch our nickels, I think is beginning to really pay off. So we're getting to be in a better position. But a lot more on this in a couple weeks. This slide here is just a little more detail on the support the county supplies to Allegany College. This year, at your request, we bumped their appropriation up to $7.5 million. It's up 1.8%. Their enrollment is down just slightly, as they discussed with us during their budget hearing. So appropriation per student's $3,000 and change, which is up about almost 7%. And if you look on down, we add debt service into the equation that we just talked about. So when you add debt service, the total county dollars going towards Allegany College is $7.8 million. That equates to $3,100 a student, up almost 5%. The next one is the same type of chart, only this time we've plugged in the Board of Ed. So you can see budget for 2014, very nearly $30 million. That number is up 1.3% from last year. Their enrollment is actually down slightly from last year, and as a result, the appropriation per student's $33.79, or up 2.6%. We also do another slide, the one here in red, or another line, I should say, here in red, where we add debt service. When you do that, spending per student grows to $34.81 a student, up ever so slightly from last year. And then one more piece of the puzzle for the Board of Ed is our gaming funds. As you well know, 75% of the proceeds from gaming after operations goes to the Board of Ed for capital projects. With what we're anticipating at this point this year to be available for the Board of Ed, we're at $30,857,000 towards the Board of Ed and their projects. So that's $3,500 a student. It's up 0.5% from last year. Oops, sorry, wrong way. We've also done this one for a while. There's certainly been a lot of talk about maintenance of effort over the last few years. We are meeting maintenance of effort as we have to by law. So you can see on the top, we funded maintenance of effort. Two little blurbs in the middle. As of 2012, we were the 4th highest in the state of Maryland on maintenance of effort. This is kind of as everything was beginning to change. We were actually doing pretty well as far as being over maintenance of effort. And in fact, since 2000, we've paid $10.3 million in excess of maintenance of effort. So there's been a lot of extra money over the years going towards education. And down on the bottom is just a graphic to show maintenance of effort versus the appropriation. that's actually the end of tonight's presentation. So tonight's part of kind of a three-step process. We present tonight. Over the next 2 weeks, there's time for public comment and certainly your comment. So that'll be May 2nd and May 9th. As it says there, this document probably right after tonight's meeting will be available online. If someone wants it and can't get it online for whatever reason, we have paper copies here. I'll be happy to email it to anyone. It's readily available. As it says, we'll present the capital improvement program on May 9th, and at that time we'll have a little more discussion as far as debt service and how we pay for capital projects. And as of now, budget adoption is scheduled for June 6th. So at this point, that's the end of my presentation. I'll turn it over to you commissioners if you have any comments. And then, like I say, we can take public comment over the next 2 weeks.
I just thank you very much and send it off to the team. Thank you very much for preparing this, and we'll hear from comments and make a decision June the 6th.
Sounds
Keep your
good.
pencil sharp.
We'll do that.
Okay.
Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Everly, what do we have on our consent agenda this evening?
Commissioners, we have 3 items today for your consideration. A sales contract amendment. We have a civil case settlement agreement for your consideration as well, and in addition to a small budget amendment for the Board of Education.
I'd like to move that we accept our consent agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
It has been moved by Commissioner McKay, seconded by Commissioner Valentine. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Everly.
Commissioners, we took bids this week on Tuesday for Bedford Road, Phase 3. Those results of those bids have been tabulated and forwarded to the Department of Public Works for their review, and hopefully at some point in time in the next few weeks, we'll have a recommendation for approval there.
Okay.
Nothing. Hey, like that.
He beat me to the punch. We have a little standing joke with Mr. Rudd that we like to afford him all the time in the world to speak, but then we kind of nip it at the bud real quick. So yeah, you are an asset, sir, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
I did it again. I used up all your time. I apologize, sir. Commissioner Valentine.
I'd just like to say that, once again, have a lot of appreciation for the work that our finance department's done. These have been tough financial times across the nation, and yet it seems like when other areas are going down, Allegany County is moving forward a little bit. I believe we sort of weathered the storm up to this point, and getting to the point where we can start growing and building a little bit more. There are a few things already in the works that's going to help to the county, so we are moving forward. Jason, thanks a ton.
Commissioners and David and you too, sir. Had an opportunity. I got a text message today, and I was asked to go to Fort Hill High School to meet a young man who watches the county commissioner meetings on channel 67, I think is the channel. And he is a avid, he loves government in general. He knows all kinds of different information about past presidents. And this is a gentleman who's in the special needs at Fort Hill. He's an autistic gentleman. And he has actually on his desk, it says his name, and he's a county commissioner. And he does all kinds of different logos and that kind of stuff. And he and his class have accepted an invitation for them to come to the county meeting, next meeting. So we're going to have some special guests here who really, really enjoy government in general. But I think he wants to be a county commissioner one day, and I told him to go for it. So we'll have some special guests next week. And it really... it's going to be a blessing, and you all need to be there. So, okay. Mr. Miss Linda, did we have anybody sign up? No? Okay. I'd like to remind everyone that our next public business meeting will be Thursday, May the 2nd, 2013, at 5 o'clock, right here in room 100. And I'd like to have everyone please see the news releases about the Allegheny County government schedule. I'd like to thank you for participating in your government, and I hope everyone has a nice evening. And I hope to see you next Thursday.